This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
You trying to squeeze through on the inside. Oh, a daring move there by Jerry Bailey. And on the far outside, proper gamble. Bold World in with the fighting chance. 1 furlong to go. And here comes you on the inside of Carson Hollow. And these two are nip and tuck. There's absolutely nothing between them. You's in so tight. Carson Hollow is unwavering. These two in a dramatic finish. It's a photo finish that doesn't deserve a loser.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Asano. On this morning's show, we'll take a look back at a couple of important three-year-old stakes to the internal breaks, and we will welcome in 4 very special guests, beginning in just a couple of moments with Mr. Todd Pletcher. He will be followed by Mr. Al Stahl, who will be saddling Departing for this afternoon's Whitney. Rusty Arnold has Southern Honey for the test. And finally, Mr. Bret Calhoun has 50 Shades of Gold also for this afternoon's test stakes. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our August 2nd edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership, who sanctify one last Saturday here at Saratoga. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com. Good morning once again. I hope you enjoyed looking back at that memorable stretch run 12 years ago in the test stakes where the victorious you outgained the extremely game Carson Hollow. Will we have another renewal of the test like that later this afternoon? What a wonderful card of racing today, featuring 5 stakes races. Let's take a look. The Whitney, the Test, the Vanderbilt, the Grassy Lure in De La Rose, and for the rest of the week tomorrow, the Marathon Weya. On Monday, the New York Stallion Series with the Cab Calloway and Statue of Liberty. On Wednesday, the John's Call. Thursday is the Birdstone. Friday is the National Museum of Racing and Hall of Fame Stakes. And next Saturday is the Grassy 4-Star Dave. But bad news concerning the 4-Star Dave. Unfortunately, Wise Dan, the 2-time reigning Horse of the Year and the winner of the past 2 runnings of the 4-Star Dave, will not make the race. Trainer Charlie Lepresti decided it would be pushing it to try to get Wise Dan ready for next Saturday. So the races that he will likely come back in, either the Bernard Baruch or the Woodbine Mile. Now, the Woodward is an outside possibility, but if he makes it here to the races at Saratoga, it would most likely be in the Baruch. Finally, here tomorrow at Saratoga, a special charitable fundraising event sponsored by Princess of Sylmar and her owner, Schenectady native Ed Stanko. It's the St. Baldrick's Foundation fundraiser to benefit childhood cancer. Sponsored by Princess of Sylmar. Tomorrow from 11 to noon, the Saratoga Jockey Silks Room Porch. Todd Pletcher and Javier Castellano will be available to sign autographs from 11 a.m. until noon. And for those making a contribution to the St. Baldrick's Foundation, you will receive either an autographed hat, poster, or T-shirt of Princess of Sylmar. Now, I'm not sure Princess of Sylmar autographed the items personally, but this is a very, very worthwhile cause. So if you're here early tomorrow morning, 11 to noon, for that fundraising event. Speaking of Mr. Pletcher, he is our first guest this morning. He has won 10 Saratoga training titles and is well on his way to number 11. Not surprisingly, he is well represented in this afternoon's stakes action. And since we taped this interview on Thursday morning, he has won 2 more races. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Todd Pletcher. Todd, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
As we tape on Thursday morning, 10 victories at the meet. You sit comfortably atop the the leading trainer standings as per usual. Assess your meet up to this point. How's it gone?
It's gone well. I think we've gotten off to a good start. Got a couple important stake wins to begin with, and it looks like the 2-year-olds are running well. So, like always for Saratoga, our success at this meet largely depends on how our 2-year-olds run, and we're excited about the way it started.
Well, we don't have time to look back at all 10 winners, but we're going to look at a couple, beginning with the Coaching Club American Oaks and Stop Charging Maria. As we pick it up, she's number 1, third on the outside. Todd, on paper, it looked like, overall a weak grade 1, but there was nothing weak about this performance.
No, I think this was certainly a breakthrough performance for her 3-year-old year, and we had accomplished quite a bit as a 2-year-old. Ended the year with wins in the Tempted and the Demoiselle, and things just didn't go really well this winter for her, and her first 2 starts were a little disappointing. It seems like once we got her up to Saratoga, she really things turned around for her. Delivered a big race in the Black Eyed Susan, but I think this was a special performance from her. And on paper it was a little bit of a weak group, but I think, like you say, the way that she did it was pretty convincing, and it was a big win for her, and to get that grade 1 that we've been looking for.
How'd she come out of the coaching club, and is the Alabama next?
So far she's come out of it really well. She's been training great, and certainly the Alabama's where we're headed. What
do you think about 10 furlongs for her?
If you'd asked me that last year, I would have said probably not. But based on her now having 3 wins at a mile and an eighth, I'd have to say it's well within her scope.
Well, you mentioned 2-year-olds and how important they are to you here at Saratoga. We're about to take a look at an awfully nice-looking debut from last Saturday. This is Competitive Edge, and he is number 9, breaking from the extreme outside. Talk about this exciting performance.
Well, we were optimistic that this could happen. He had been training exceptionally well since he'd come in. He's just one of those colts that's very intelligent. Everything came very easily to him throughout his training this summer, and so we were very excited to get him started, and actually very upset or concerned when the race was initially drawn and he was on the also eligible. We caught a break and got a scratch, and that allowed him to draw in and get a post that can be an advantage for young horses. So he broke cleanly, put himself in a good spot, and it was just very, very professional debut.
What'd Johnny say to you after the race?
Well, Johnny had actually breezed the colt from the gate for us, so he kind of knew what to expect, and or what we were all hoping for anyways. He had nothing but great things to say about it, and it was just a pretty straightforward performance.
He's by Super Saver, your Derby winner. That had to be pretty meaningful to you.
It is. It's really neat to to have a son of Super Saver do so well, and not only this colt, but Super Saver's off to a great start.
Yeah.
He's had 3 winners on the NYRA circuit already, and looks like he's got a big future.
How'd he come out of the race, and is the hopeful next?
He came out of it great. In fact, so well that we took him back to the track on the 3rd day. He was just feeling too well. So we're hoping to make the hopeful. That's kind of the plan that we've had in mind if this race were to go well, and it did.
Now, I noticed the 2 ladies who own him, I didn't recognize their names. Are they brand new clients for you?
They are. This is the first horse we've had for them. Alex Solis Jr. purchased this colt at the Fazek Tipton sale in Adena Springs, and I was there. Knew the colt was very nice, and just happened to see Alex after the sale, and he said, "You train Super Saver. The clients are from Massachusetts, and they're looking for an East Coast trainer. Would you be interested?" And I was, absolutely. So kind of got lucky there. Alex was nice enough to introduce me to them, and it's been great so far.
What a nice way for new clients to get started. Has Alex's phone been ringing off the hook since the maiden win?
I think so. Anytime you see promising 2-year-olds that are 3-year-olds next year, generally that generates some excitement.
All right, today the big one, the $1.5 million Whitney and Palace Malice. About a year ago, he comes to Saratoga, and beginning in the Travers and continuing to the Jockey Club and the Breeders' Cup Classic, he developed some gait issues. What was happening?
He just didn't break didn't break well. It wasn't a behavioral issue so much as he didn't fire away from the gate, and that had been sort of something that had been a little bit of an Achilles heel for him at times. But he completely missed the break in the Travers and came away last, and then the fractions didn't really develop very quickly. And I thought he ran a huge race considering that. In the Jockey Club, I think on the day we were just second best. No one was going to beat the winner that day, and he ran well. But then again in the Breeders' Cup Classic, didn't break well and put himself in a bad position early on a track that you kind of wanted to be up close. So the great thing about this year, knock on wood, so far, he's kind of gotten past some of that stuff. Last year in the Bluegrass, just before he got to the wire, he saw some footprints on the track, and he got startled and went back to his left lead, and I thought it maybe cost him. And then, the gate issues in the Travers and the Breeders' Cup. So far this year, all four starts, he's been the consummate professional, hasn't made those little mistakes that have cost him. We're hoping that can continue.
Did you work with him specifically at the gate over the winter?
No differently than we did last year. And like I said, it wasn't so much that he was misbehaved in the gate or concerned about the gate. He just wasn't jumping away well. This year he has.
How's he changed mentally, physically from 3 to 4?
Well, he's already a beautiful horse and a big, strong colt, but he's made that natural maturation to 4, where he's just gotten bigger and stronger, but I think more than anything, it's he's more professional, and hopefully that continues to be the course. But to me, that's been why he's been so dominant so far. Is the professionalism is there that was there at times last year, but not every time.
Well, it's been a terrific 2014 for Palace Malice. We're about to take a look at his last start in the Metropolitan Handicap. He is number 1 in here, and you had to be a bit concerned with the post.
Very concerned about the post, and especially carrying top weight, drawing the one hole. It's hard to overcome those things, and I think this is the difference in him in 2014 and 2013. He didn't break super, but he was able to creep his way up the rail and put himself in a good position. Ends up having to wait on room a little bit, but what's exciting to me is what the Met really tells me is this horse is just extra special, because I don't think he's really at his best at a 1-turn mile. I think he's a 1 1/8 to a 1.5 mile specialist, but he's just talented enough and brilliant enough to do these type of things.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, because I commented on the show the week after the Met that I didn't really think this was his A race. Now, I know he was cutting back in distance, and as you say, you don't feel he's a pure miler. He did it on talent. So is there some room for improvement off this Met performance?
I think so. I think just because we're in the Whitney, hopefully going to be doing what he really wants to do, which is go 2 turns and run a 1.8 miles. And I think he's sharp enough now that he'll put himself in a good prominent stalking position. And I think this is the Whitney's more what he really wants to do. And like you said, he just did this on class and talent, and it's a remarkable achievement for a horse to win the Belmont and the Met, and it hasn't happened very often, so we're proud of him.
How's he training? How's he doing coming up to today's Whitney?
He's doing great. He's trained really well. I think everything has gone exactly according to plan since the Met. He breezed at Belmont twice, and then he's come here, and he's just, everything has gone perfectly. So feel like we're right on track.
You did have to change the workout by 24 hours because of weather. Is that any concern?
Not at all. And so watching the forecast, I was a little concerned it could be wet on Sunday. I talked to Glenn Kozak, and he said if the forecast holds true, I'm going to have to at least back rake the main track, maybe seal it. So why sit around and worry about it? 24 hours shouldn't make any difference. So we got into really good work on Saturday, and as it turned out, the track was back raked Sunday morning, and then skies opened up about 8 o'clock. So glad we got it out of the way. We got perfect racetrack to do it on, and he came out of it well.
All right. You also run a pair in the test stakes, but no My Miss Sophia. What's going on with her?
You know, she was training. We were originally planning to run her in the coaching club, and I just didn't feel like she was training quite as well as she had been. So we decided to pass that, considered the test. I think we've made some progress, but we're not exactly where we want to be. Don't really have a game plan in mind. We'll probably breeze her over the weekend, see how that goes, and we'll pick out a spot later on.
The big filly in the test is Sweet Whiskey. She comes off a very solid second in the Acorn as we pick it up. She is number 4 in the yellow saddle towel down toward the inside. Talk about Sweet Whiskey.
She's a quality filly, and she's run some big races. I think even though she didn't win the Acorn, you could argue that was her best performance. She's a quality filly, broke her maiden up here well last year, won the Old Hat at Gulfstream. I think 7 furlongs should be ideal for her, so she tends to run well fresh. That's why we made the decision to wait from the Acorn to the test, and so we're hoping that she can deliver her A game on Saturday.
There appears to be, and there usually is, a lot of early speed in the test stakes. She seems tractable.
She does. I think she's actually at her best, just off the pace. Should be plenty of that in here, so hopefully she can get a good stalking trip.
Now on paper, she's only a only in quotes, a grade 3 winner, but she looks better than that.
I think she is, and I think this is her big opportunity here.
How's she training? How's she doing?
Really well. Yeah, she looks great. She's coming into it well. She's a filly that puts a lot into her training, and that's why we try to space them out a little bit, but she should be fit and ready to go.
Well, part of the speed could come from your other entrant, Red Velvet, who comes off a weakening 4th in the Victory Ride, and this is a tougher spot. Why the test for her?
We actually entered her earlier in the week in the Honorable Miss, thinking maybe 6 furlongs would be better for her, and testing older mares might be easier than going in this race. But looking at it, we felt like there is some pace in here, but she's very fast. We felt like she could make the lead. We're going to take the blinkers off and see if we can use her speed, but not quite as crazy as she was last time. You know, she didn't break real well, and Irad kind of asked her to go, and once you ask her to go, there's not much getting her back. So hopefully we can fine-tune that a little bit. I think her race prior to that was very impressive, and that's why she was favored, in the last race. But I think if she can get back to just using her speed without going too quick, she could have something to say.
You've got Capo Bastone for the Vanderbilt. He hasn't run particularly well since winning the King's Bishop here last year. Will the return to Saratoga be enough to get him jump-started?
I wish this race were 7 furlongs like the King's Bishop, because I think he's probably a little better at 7 than he will be at 6. But we put blinkers on him last time, and it's the first time in a while that he got involved in the race early. So he needs a super hot pace, and he'll be coming late. We'll hope that the 6 is enough ground, but hopefully the blinkers will get him just a little closer than he had been prior to that.
Before we let you go, want to get an update on a number of your 3-year-olds. And I guess we'll kind of do this in chronological order as to when they went to the sidelines. Beginning with Constitution, very nice colt earlier this winter, Florida Derby winner. What's going on with him?
Constitution's at Windstar Farm, and he had, actually Elliot Walden told me this morning, he's had his 2 breezes, both just very relaxed 3/8 breezes. And I would anticipate we'll probably see him up here later in the meet to train, not to run. Is
it too early to think about when you might be able to get him back to the races?
Well, I think he'll make the races probably in September sometime. The question is, where and what race that will be. So we'll just kind of get him in and assess how his fitness level is. But he's a horse that I anticipate would come to hand pretty quickly. He's just a natural athlete that will probably get fit pretty quickly. So there's, hope that we'll see him this fall.
Danza, in my opinion, ran an outstanding 3rd in the Kentucky Derby as a pretty inexperienced colt, but we haven't seen him since. What's going on with Danza?
Danza's at my dad's training center in Ocala, and the Triple Crown campaign just took a bit of a toll on him. He was pretty tired after the Derby. He broke out in a skin rash all over him, and it just lost some weight. And he came a long way in a short period of time to be able to go off an allowance win in the Arkansas Derby and the Kentucky Derby. a lot of quality there, and we just felt like, let's give him a break, give him some time. So I think my dad's probably going to start him back in training here pretty soon.
If you had told me after that third in the Gulfstream allowance sprint, he chased wide on that track, I understand that. But if you had told me he was going to run a bang-up third in the Kentucky Derby, I would have never believed you.
No, you could have probably got 100-1 on him at that point. He paid $40-something in the Arkansas Derby. So, he just, he seemed to, the allowance race moved him forward. He seemed to just getting better and better. And so we kind of took a calculated risk in the Arkansas Derby, and it paid off. And
finally, Rock Fall, who, as well as Coup de Gras ran in the Amsterdam, and he ran very well. Rock Fall figured to be a major factor last Saturday, but you scratched him. What happened?
Like they say in racing, things can go bad overnight. The colt breezed great the week before, seemed to be coming up good. We entered him. I didn't like the way he was galloping the last couple of days before the race. We did some precautionary x-rays and found a little bit of bruising on the bottom of his cannon bones, and we sent him to Stone Street for probably a 45-day vacation.
Well, Todd, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. And we want to say thank you. We want to show our appreciation by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. Open every day for lunch and dinner, beginning at 11:30. So please take this with our regards. Have a nice lunch or dinner, and good luck this afternoon with Palace Malice and all the rest.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Okay.
Todd Pletcher, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks again so much to Todd for having joined us, and we are up to our first break. When we return, Mr. Al Stahl will join us as we go to the break, the Jim Dandy, a race which appeared to be, well, pretty much void of a lot of early speed. The 90-cent to the dollar favorite, number 4, Tonalist. The 2-to-1 second choice, number 7, Wicked Strong. So we will take a look at the Jim Dandy to the break. Back with Al Stahl right after these messages.
And they're off, and the Jim Dandy Kid Cruz is sent to the lead today by Ortiz, but there's speed inside from Legend. They hit the first turn, and Legend goes on to take the early lead. Wicked Strong forwardly placed, but 4 wide. Up and in between horses Ulan and Kid Cruz. And Tonalist settles back in 5th, and Commanding Curve off the pace, 7 lengths from the leader. And the leader here is Legend. Wicked Strong right up on the pace there. 24-2 was the fairly ordinary opening quarter mile. Ulaanbaatar on hold and behind the leader's 3rd. Kid Cruz between horses 4th. And the Belmont winner, Tonalist, situates himself upside on the outside down the backstretch run. And Commanding Curve continues to lope along at the back of the pack. 7 lengths from Wicked Strong and Legend, who share the lead through the opening half mile here in 47-3. So the tempo has picked up in the second quarter mile. Tonalist looms large while running 3rd into the far turn. Half mile remaining to Jim Dandy. Ulaanbaatar 4th toward the inside. Kid Cruz under the whip, tailing off in 5th, and Commanding Curve starting to uncoil that stride of his as they round the far turn. Wicked Strong continues to duel with Legend, and here comes the Belmont winner, Tonalist, who rolls up on the outside to join them as the field turns for home, and the Derby runner-up, Commanding Curve, gets into contention now. Ulaanbaatar and Kid Cruz, top of the stretch now, and it is Wicked Strong confronted by Tonalist with 1/8 of a mile to go, and Wicked Strong, strong indeed, and holding on grimly to the lead. Tonalist is still 2nd with a 16th to go. Kid Cruz is 3rd, and they're coming down to the finish. And the blinkered Wicked Strong, straight as a string through the stretch today. And he won by 2 emphatic lengths, beating a Belmont winner, Tonalist. Finishing 3rd was Kid Cruz. Commanding Curve was 4th.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Sovereign stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
top-level racing.
Sovereign Stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to capitalotb.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. capitalotb.com.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano, and wicked strong. Jimmy Jerkins adding blinkers, Rajiv Marab by 2 1/4 over a pretty conservatively ridden tonalist, with Kid Cruz kind of a fascinating trip third. Our next guest won the Whitney here 4 years ago. He's going to try to do it again this afternoon with Departing. We welcome back to Down the Stretch, Mr. Al Stahl. Al, nice to have you.
Happy to be here.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much.
It's got to be a pleasant memory looking back 4 years at Blaine.
Yeah, it's a memory of a lifetime. We'll never forget it. And what he went on to do later in the year was very special, but the Whitney was right up there with it.
Well, let's talk Departing. You took a somewhat conservative approach with him as a 3-year-old, and it appears to have paid off very nicely.
Well, we tried the big boys in the Preakness, and things didn't work out in that race for a number of reasons as a 3-year-old. So being a gelding, we weren't trying to make a stallion. It was just trying to make a few dollars with him, and there's such good money around the country for the second-tier derbies, and we just went down that path, and everything fell into place, and he accumulated just a lot of money and a nice reputation.
Yeah, I'd say almost $1.4 million is picking your spots extremely well.
Yeah, no, it worked out well. He's a very honest, straightforward, sound horse, and he was easy to ship around, and he was a perfect type of horse to do that with.
How has Departing changed physically and mentally from 3 to 4?
He's done everything he's supposed to do. He went to Claiborne Farm in early October, and just sat around and acted like a horse and grazed, and he didn't have anything done to him, no paintings, no pin fire, no procedure, so to speak. And he just came back. He put on quite a bit of weight, and we started from scratch at the fairgrounds. We've built him up with this race in mind, starting with about January 1st, and we're very fortunate to make it this far, and we're here today, and we're very excited about running.
Well, we are about to take a look at his last start in the Stephen Foster at Churchill Downs for our audience. Departing number 6 in here. Al, talk about this performance, if you would.
Well, this was his second race in 8.5 months, and he'd come off of a 1-turn mile allowance race, and he won that fairly easily. So he wasn't 100% in this race. It's physically impossible to get him 100%. I wasn't going to kill him in the morning just to try and win a race in June when we have second half of the year goals set. So I thought he acquitted himself extremely well against this kind of field under the circumstances. You'll see he has a beautiful trip, laying right off the pace, and as we go on down through the second turn, and he makes the leads in between calls with the 3/16 pole. It looked like he was going to win the thing for a minute there, and while the jockey didn't comment that he got tired or anything, he is just what we know about horses and how they are. He was a little bit heavy the last part, running against some super fit horses. Moonshine Mullins had won 5 in a row or something crazy like that, and Will Take Charge has had a schedule that's kept him busy. So they were battle-tested, hardened veterans, and here we are. We were barefoot in a field 4 or 5 months prior to this, so we feel like we're still coming up the ladder, and what he got out of this race should really help him today.
You're getting so good at this that you've already answered my next 3 questions. From a handicapper's perspective, he sat a perfect trip this day, but you just told our audience you fully expect him to move forward this afternoon.
Well, if you're anybody who handicaps horses, the third race back off of a race, and I mean, he jumped into the fire in the Foster, and look at him right now. There he is. He's on the lead right now, and right at this point in time, you figured he would get a little tired. It wouldn't have surprised me if he got beat 4 or 5 lengths in this race. And everything has gone very well since this race, which is the most important thing. We love the way he came out of it, and we love the way he trains up here, and he's ready to go. No excuses whatsoever.
Beautiful. Now, you're drawn outside of, the early speed with Moreno and It's My Lucky Day, and right outside of Palace Malice. Strategy?
I guess the strategy was just keeping on Palace Malice. We're not going to be on the lead. He's not going to be on the lead, so I'm sure Johnny's going to want to be third in that very comfortable spot that he likes to be in, without a straw in his path. So we don't want to be really outside of him, get pushed even further wide. So it's up to Robbie. That's how we'll just play it off the break, but we kind of know what they're going to do, and we want to do the same thing. So it's going to be a little touchy, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, getting into and out of that important first turn is often overlooked going 9 furlongs there.
Oh yeah, because like I said, Johnny's not going to drop in and tuck in behind two speed horses that hopefully will back up to us later in the race. So if we're outside of him, we know we're going to be in the 4 or 5 path, so we don't want that. But we're a good sharp gate horse, and he'll be in the bridle nice and fresh, and who knows what will happen the first turn. We might be in front of him, you never know. So thank goodness I don't have to make that call.
In today's 5th race, what could develop into an awfully good maiden event, you're going to debut Waging War, who you paid $350,000 for. Tell us about him.
He's a very sharp colt. We bought him out for Claiborne Farm. One of my other clients bought him from one of my clients. My clients bought off each other, and I trained his mother, and she had a lot of potential. She just didn't reach it. There's plenty of horses like that. And so, we kept an eye on her foals, and that horse that won yesterday, the last race that I think Linda Rice has now, the Arch horse is out of that same mare. So she's throwing some winners now, and he's just a really handy colt. He was a pretty baby, and he's done really good. He's done everything we've asked of him. He acts like he can run on the dirt, even though he's kind of bred for the turf.
Right. So 3/4 on dirt this afternoon. Is this a starting point? Will he need a race or two, or do you expect him to run well first out of the box?
He's very focused. He's very dialed in and focused, so I have to think he'll run well.
Now, you were one of the 25 trainers who signed, I don't know if petition is proper, but signed the form supporting the gradual phase out of Lasix. Talk to our audience about that.
Well, the race day is the big issue there. Lasix is the drug we give on race day, and as far as the public perception and things that we're fighting right now in this game, for the betterment of the game, the obvious thing is to try and limit, or I should say get rid of, the race day medication, and Lasix is all we had. So, I'm not a big Lasix user. I don't train too much on it, and I give minimums, and I don't have much of a problem with it. There's the obvious horse that's going to need a lot of time. It's going to take some patience on owners and trainers' parts, but it's the right thing for the game, and it's going to be the right thing for the horses down the road.
There were obviously some very prominent names on that list. What do you expect will happen next?
Well, I think everybody's just feeling their way through this. We got to start somewhere. The ball's got to move, and we've got to move the ball because we don't want the feds to come in and do it for us. That's an obvious thing. So that's part of the reason why everybody's getting behind this also. We just want to continue to govern ourselves like we've done for 100 years.
Al, as always, I want to thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. We always appreciate it. And we want to show you our appreciation by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill, 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They are open every day for lunch and dinner, beginning at 11:30. So please take this with our regards.
Thank you.
Have a nice lunch or dinner. Good luck this afternoon with departing and Waging War, and we'll look forward to seeing you again very soon.
It's my pleasure. I hope we talk later after the race.
That's right. Thank you, Al. Al Stahl, ladies and gentlemen. And we are up to our next break. When we return, Mr. Rusty Arnold will join us. As we go to the break, the Haskell, the 7-5 favorite, the filly, number 7, Untappable. So we'll take a look at the Haskell to the break. Back with Rusty Arnold right after these messages.
Ready for a start in the William Hill Haskell. And they're off. And Social Inclusion stumbled coming out of the gate. Untappable got away well. Bayern straight to the front. Bayern out to be the leader on the outside. Wildcat Red is out in second. Albano's up close in third. And here comes Social Inclusion. Emerging from the pack on the outside and then takes over third as they race for the clubhouse turn. It's Bayern in front. Wildcat Red second and outside. Social Inclusion 3 wide into that turn from third. Albano with a great spot, saving ground down inside fourth. Encryption is covered up in fifth as they move around the first turn. Untappable stuck 3 wide. She's inching up into fifth after first quarter in 23-2. And then it's just Call Kenny racing about 5 lengths off the lead inside a Meadow Count, who is also wide around the first turn, and 3 lengths back to Irish Uel at the back of the pack. Down the Monmouth Park backstretch, Bayern's in front with 5 furlongs to go. Wildcat Red sticking right with Byron so far. Second on the outside. And right there, Byron lets it out just a bit. Opens up to lead by 2 with a half mile to go. Social Inclusion on the outside in third after a half in 47-3. Then it's Albano down inside racing fourth. Untappable, Rosie Napravnik. There she goes. Untappable's on the move now. 4 wide on the far outside. Just Call Kenny's following her. Encryption down inside. Medal count. The whip is out. He's not gaining ground. Passed by Irish UL as they come outside the quarter pole, where Byron's in front of the Haskell. Byron off the turn. Wildcat Red. Social Inclusion. Untappable swings 4 wide for the stretch drive. And then it's Albano, top of the lane. And Byron has kicked it into gear. Byron opens up to lead by 4. Byron by 5. Untappable's gaining no ground. Down inside it's Albano. Into the final 50 yards. And Byron is gone in the Haskell. Byron wires the field. 7 lengths on the wire. And then it was Albano in second, Wildcat Red, Untappable in a photo for fourth with Irish UL.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
The big day is here. You've told everybody. You've dressed the part. Your heart is pounding in your chest. Your horse is rolling down the stretch. He's coming. He's closing. He's the winner! You're a winner with Parting Glass Racing. PartingGlassRacing.com. PartingGlassRacing.wow!
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Cassano. My thanks to Al Stahl once again for having joined us. And Bayern, Bob Baffert's 7th Haskell victory, Martin Garcia, by a powerful 7 1/4 lengths. Untappable, the favorite, finishing 5th. Our next guest will try to upset this afternoon's test stakes with a rapidly improving Southern Honey. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Mr. Rusty Arnold. Rusty, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
Always nice to have you. As we take a look at Southern Honey's allowance victory 2 back, and for our audience, she is number 2. Talk to us about your filly.
Well, she had a shin as a 2-year-old and only had the 1 start. Got to training really well in Florida, and as some horses won't do, I don't think she handled Gulfstream well. Came out of there, won very easy on the poly at Keeneland, and a lot of people thought she was a poly horse. We didn't, and ran in this race, and we were very impressed with this race. She didn't get away good, but then recovered and ran pretty strong.
Yeah, and even though the fractions were quick, they went 22, 44, and 4, she looks like she's relaxing very nicely for Julian.
Yeah, she was very relaxed, wasn't ranked. She never has been ranked in her training at all. Her works aren't fast. She's actually very easy to train.
She has made some rapid improvement.
Yeah, she went from this race. I kind of threw her to the wolves. I was going to ship her to New York, and I just had another race in mind, and I didn't want to ship twice. I wanted to go to the Victory Ride for personal reasons because I had her,
right,
and I thought that would be nice. And so we stayed home and tried old horses. A lot of people questioned that move, but it turned out good for us.
Yeah, and we're going to watch that in just a minute or two. Right now, Rusty, take a moment to describe her for our audience from a physical standpoint and what's she like mentally.
She's mentally fabulous. I think that's what helps her. She was picked out of the sale by David and Gordo and Mr. Brommage's son, Bo Brommage. Very attractive filly. A little bit sickle hawk, but has a beautiful shoulder on her and a gorgeous head. So she's pretty easy to look at.
Well, you mentioned the winning colors against older fillies. We are about to take a look at it on May 26th. She is number 9 for our audience. You know, it is a little unusual for 3-year-olds to run against their elders this early in the year.
Yeah, it was probably my reluctance to ship.
Yeah.
I wanted to ship for her next race that I ended up missing, and I didn't want to move her twice, so I said, let me give it a try. I'd seen her training. It was really, really sharp, and I just wanted to give it a try. We already knew she handled that racetrack well, so we did it, and one of those things that worked out.
You know, it's not always easy to turn back from 7 furlongs to 3/4. You did have the benefit of a nice outside post. She's in a perfect stalking position, and she's going to run down Social Bug, you know, a nice Baffert 4-year-old.
Yeah, the outside post was great that day. All the speed was to the inside. Julian had talked about rating her. That's hard to do when you're on the inside post.
Right.
And this worked a lot easier for her. Went to our benefit. We got a little lucky, and today it's not so. We didn't get so lucky.
Now, what's Julian said to you? You know, he's ridden her in her last 4 starts. What's he said to you about her progress?
Well, he was pretty impressed this day. I think it was the first day he said a lot to me, and he said, you know, she went to those fillies the right way, did it the right way. I had plenty of horse, and he was pretty happy with her that day.
Now, that race was May 26th. You mentioned you wanted to go to the victory ride, and she missed the race. Rusty, I only see 4 workouts for her on paper since that last effort. Can she be at her best this afternoon under those circumstances?
There's a workout on there missing, and I don't know why. It's she has one more work at Saratoga. I think it was on a really busy day when we first got here. She breezed a half mile, I think on the 13th, and it was crowded and backed up, and I think a lot of horses got off at the same time, and we failed to catch her. And so she does have one extra work. I'm concerned. She got a temperature right 3 days before she was going to ship to New York. She was on the plane, didn't get to come. Then it was too late to go anywhere else. So 10 weeks is a long time. Caught up the best we can. Julian's been on her twice here. He's pretty happy with her, so I think we're okay. That won't be an excuse.
Post position, not ideal, but not all that bad, drawn in the middle.
It's not bad. The 1-horse scratch, so we're going to go a little bit closer to the rail. I would prefer outside when you're going 7/8, but we don't have outside, so she's going to have to do a little more work today.
She'll be forwardly placed, I take it, going 7/8?
A lot of speed in here, but she's got speed. She'll be in the front group.
Now, before we let you go, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite turf mares, and that's Center Court, who ran very well 2 back in the Jenny Wiley. And for those of you who remember the Jenny Wiley, she did run 5th, but with that trip, she was 5th, beaten less than a length, but then she came back at Churchill. I expected her to run big, and she didn't. What happened?
She lost a shoe out of the gate. She ripped it off. If you go back and watch the break, there was a slight stumble. She broke to the outside. She ripped her right front shoe off. She wears glue-ons. She's had some foot issues through her career and ran a race without one, got out the whole way, couldn't handle it, and we had to give her some time off. We did that, gave her about 3 weeks back training. She's here. I think she's 100% now. We're headed to the Boston Spa.
Because if I'm not mistaken, she had some issues late last year. You got something diagnosed that you couldn't quite put your fingers on early.
She did. She went to Dr. Bramlage. She went wrong after the race at I'll forget the name right now, but after the race at Belmont, it was on soft ground. Couldn't get her right. I thought I had her right. I ran her. Wasn't a good idea. We sent her to Bramlage. She had a muscle pull in behind that I hadn't found. Gave her some time. Didn't do anything with her, and did some therapy work on it. Came back. Her first start this year was a very good race in Florida. We thought we were on the way. And again, the Jenna Wiley was a good race. Yeah. She got beat 3/4 of a length. Yeah. I know you don't like to say I was 5th, but it was a good race. And then everything went wrong. And now I hope we're back on track for a good fall campaign.
So you're confident she's back to the old Center Court?
I feel great right now about her. Now, we're still 3 weeks from her race.
Right.
I think she's going to work on Monday morning, but her work's sure been good. Her fitness level is great, so I'm excited about having her back.
That's wonderful. Sounds great. Rusty, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. And we want to say thank you by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill at 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They are open daily for lunch and dinner beginning at 11:30. The food is wonderful. I can attest to that. The steak, the scallops, the chicken, everything is very good. So take this with our regards and have a nice lunch or dinner on us.
Well, thank you. We actually eat there a lot, but now you're paying for it.
There we go. How much better can it get?
Can't get any better.
Hopefully you will be having a victory celebration at Jacob and Anthony's. Good luck this afternoon with Southern Honey, and we'll look forward to center court in the Ballston spot.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rusty.
All
Good
right,
seeing you as always.
Thanks.
We are up to our final break. When we return, Mr. Bret Calhoun will join us as we go to this break. The Shuvee last Sunday here at Saratoga, slight favorite at 2-1, number 2 Flashy American. So we'll take a look at the Shuvee to the break. Back with Bret Calhoun right after these messages.
And they're off. Antipathy breaks in stride. Antipathy to the rail and to the lead just ahead of Swingers Party. Toward the outside, it's Unlimited Budget, and farthest off the rail, Hot Stones gets caught wide going into the turn. Flashy American down toward the inside. She's trying to get off that path, but right next to her, it's Stanwood keeping her in. And at the back of the pack early on here is Ambusher. So up front, and Swingers Party goes on with it. Antipathy defers and is now sitting back in second with Unlimited Budget third behind a 23-3 opening quarter mile. Hot Stones being nudged along, while fourth, about 4 lengths from the lead. Flash American settles down in mid-pack, followed closely by Stanwick, and Ambusher still trails the field. It's about 9 lengths from front to back, and up front it is Swingers Party. Swingers Party, Antipathy just cruising, while second down the backstretch run. The pace is a solid one. 47-3 was the half-mile mark. And there goes Unlimited Budget, called on for run just outside the half-mile pole. And she'll make a 3-wide move into the far turn. Antipathy takes over from Swingers Party. Unlimited Budget, Hot Stones. Hot Stones is advancing now. Fourth on the outside. Stanwick is following her. Flashy American and Ambusher moving toward the top of the stretch. Antipathy the leader. Unlimited Budget is full out, but now a length and a half behind. Stanwick is coming with a strong 4-wide rally as they turn for home. And then Hot Stones, Ambusher, and Flashy American down inside. 3/16 out. It is Antipathy, Hot Stones, and Stanwick. 1, 2, 3. 1 furlong to go. Antipathy's still there. Antipathy full out driving on that lead. Stanwick and Hot Stones both chasing her home. But it's to be Antipathy to win the Shuvee. Stanwick second, Hot Stones third, Ambusher fourth.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Sovereign stable.
Partnerships.
Ownership.
Winning.
Sovereign stable.
The anticipation.
The excitement.
The thrill.
Top level racing.
Sovereign stable.
Join us in the morning on the backstretch of Saratoga Racecourse to experience the magic of thoroughbred ownership. Call 866-329-2WIN to meet trainers, jockeys, and watch sovereign horses on the track.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Casano. My thanks to Rusty Arnold once again for having joined us. And Antipathy for Kieran and Erod Ortiz Jr. Nice ride from Erod. Coming off a very fine third in the Ogden Phipps. Handily wins the Shuvee by a couple of lengths over Stanwick. And Hot Stones, the latter owned locally by Roddy Valente. Our final guest returns to Saratoga with 50 Shades of Gold for this afternoon's Test Stakes. We welcome back to Down the Stretch, Mr. Bret Calhoun. Bret, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we got to talk a little bit. When I mentioned bringing 50 Shades of Gold back here, last year in the Adirondack, that had to be the worst trip of any contender, legitimate contender, throughout the entire 2013 Saratoga meet. I didn't want to show it because I didn't want to get you sick to your stomach. Talk about that. What happened?
I've thought about it for a long, long time, believe me. It was a tough beat that day, tough trip. It was a great opportunity for us to win a Grade 2. We thought we had the best horse. Not only does she get a horrible trip and doesn't win, but she comes out of it injured also. So it was a tough loss for us.
What kind of an injury was it, Bret?
She came out with a chip in her knee and a fracture in her shin.
Well, that was brutal. Now we are about to take a look at her win the 8 bells earlier this year. In fact, 2 back at Churchill. And for our audience, as we pick it up, she is number 7, 3rd on the outside. Talk about this effort in particular, and talk about the early season races of 50 Shades of Gold.
Well, we were kind of behind the 8 ball. Everything went perfect coming off the injury. She made every work perfectly, and that's what had to happen to get her back to the races, to maybe get her on a Kentucky Oaks type trail. Got a race there in Houston, went perfectly, gave us enough time to get back to decide if we wanted to make an Oaks filly out of her or not. With Untappable sitting out there, we opted for the 8 bells because we felt like at that time that Untappable might be the best 3-year-old in the country. So we ducked and went to the 8 bells, and she ran the race we expected out of her.
And you know, she didn't run badly in the Fairgrounds Oaks. I mean, you were coming off 1 sprint race in a long period of time.
Correct.
And she finished a distant 2nd, but it was Untappable.
Exactly.
But what did that effort in the Fairgrounds Oaks tell you about her?
Well, it kind of gave her a little legitimacy that we knew she belonged. And like I said, that's why we had a lot of discussions whether to go forward to the Oaks or to the 8 bells. But we knew we'd move forward a lot off our first 2-turn race, second off a layoff. But we felt like we'd have a lot better chance of winning in the 8 bells than we would have beating Untappable in the Oaks.
Take a moment to describe her for our audience from a physical standpoint, what she liked to look at, and how is she mentally?
She's a tremendous physical. She's a very large filly. She's just an incredible individual. She's kind of breathtaking. When she comes into the paddock, you see people just stop and look at her. As far as on the racetrack, she's a really good training, good-minded filly, very powerful. She's the whole package.
Well, we are about to take a look at her last start, which came in the Acorn. For our audience, she is number 3 in here. Bret, talk about this performance, and does she really want to be in front early, or would she prefer having a target to run at?
Well, Mike was disappointed in the trip he got that day. Obviously, we weren't wanting to be on the lead. There was some speed inside. I think that horse missed the break. There was some other speed that didn't show up. Mike found himself on the lead, didn't want to take her back at that point, but that's really not the position we wanted to be in, so I think that won't be a problem today. There's a lot of speed in there today, so I don't think that'll be an issue, us being in a stalking position. But we had a couple of issues that day. We found ourselves on the front where we didn't want to be, and secondly, in the turn, a horse run up behind us. Her rear end came out from under her twice. I never even saw it, but when Mike got off of her, he immediately said, "Watch the video." He said, "I believe that somebody clipped our heels behind." I still couldn't see it in the replay. When I got back to the barn, something definitely had run up her heel. Her hind legs were cut up. So she lost a lot of momentum in the turn, took a little toll on her also.
Both her victories this year have come at 7/8. Is that her best distance?
I think it's a very, very good distance for her. I think 7/8 is great for her. I think a mile 16 is great, but obviously you look at her form, and 7/8 has been her strongest races.
Now, you took her back to Churchill after the Acorn, and she shows a series of bullet works at the Downs. How's she been training?
She's been training fantastic. Obviously, those weren't intentional to get the bullet every time. We actually tried to work her easy multiple times, but she's just a fast filly. She does it very, very easily. She never appears to be going that fast. I've asked her one of those 5/8s. I want her to put a little something into it, but other than that, she's just been training phenomenally and doing it easily on her own.
So she came out of the Acorn well.
Very
now,
good.
Rusty just mentioned to us that Princess Violet's been scratched. So you've got the rail going 7/8. which obviously is not ideal.
It's not. Definitely, I was a little sick when we drew the post. I would have much preferred an outside post. Very, very good group of horses. Obviously, the competition is very tough. I think in these kind of races, you need the perfect trip. And you worry about being stuck on the inside. You know, between the 1 and the 2 doesn't matter. I wasn't real happy about being in the 2, and being in the 1 doesn't make any difference to me as opposed to being in the 2. But we're just going to have to get lucky. Hopefully, the race stretches out a little bit, and Robbie can get lucky and maneuver around a little bit.
Well, Saratoga does owe you something, so we'll wish for a good, clean trip this afternoon. Before we let you go, let's talk about a couple of your 2-year-olds here quickly. I watched Promise Me Silver, nice 2-year-old filly, win Churchill's debutante. Tell us about her.
She's a nice filly for us. We had a little bleeding incident in the debutante. She ran a great race, and we decided just to back off of her. So we gave her about 60 days off. She'll be coming back in training the next couple of weeks. Everything's good with her. We're pretty excited about her future.
Silver Hill ran 5th here in the Sanford.
You know, he reared in the paddock. He lost his balance and flipped and landed on the back wall a little bit and hit his head. And Mike should have scratched him. He was okay, but I think he kind of rung his bell a little bit. And he didn't perform as well that day as we expected, so we're going to give him a little break. We're going to freshen him at the farm for 3 or 4 weeks and then come back. We think he wants to be a little bit later, a little longer colt. He's still a little bit immature.
You're going to be running a 2-year-old here in the stakes pretty soon?
Vivian DeBling, she's 2 for 2. She's a very fast, very precocious filly. She seems to be getting better by the day, physically and mentally. She worked a half mile here this morning, worked very well, 48 and 4, I believe. Went just like we wanted, and we'll be running her next week in the Adirondack.
Next week in the Adirondack. All right, we'll look forward to seeing her. Well, Bret, as always, we appreciate your time. Things didn't work out so well last year in the Adirondack. We'll hope that they work out a lot better for you in the test this afternoon. So we want to thank you by giving you this $100 gift card to Jacob and Anthony's American Grill. It's at 38 High Rock Avenue, right here in downtown Saratoga. They're open every day for lunch or dinner, beginning in just about 38 minutes at 11:30.
Perfect.
So take this with our regards. Have a nice lunch or dinner on us. And best of luck this afternoon with 50 Shades of Gold.
Thank you very much.
We're looking forward to seeing her run. And again, we hope she gets a nice, clean trip.
Hope so.
All right, before we leave you this morning, I want to remind you very quickly about a fundraiser here tomorrow. It's beginning at 11 o'clock. It's the St. Baldrick's Foundation fundraiser. It's for childhood cancer. Todd Pletcher, Javier Castellano will be there to sign autographs. And for those of you making a donation, you will receive an autographed hat or shirt from Princess of Silmar. Again, I don't know if the princess, signed those herself, but it's going to be a very nice day. So if you're going to be here early tomorrow, please stop and think about making a donation. All right, time to thank all the folks who helped get this week's show on the air. Here at the Backstretch at Saratoga, our associate producer, Julie Hoxie and Brian Dorenzo and Mick Richards. Back in the control room in Schenectady, Pat Peretta directed, Landis Burgess on audio, thanks to Pete Persico. Thanks to this morning's guests, Bret Calhoun, Rusty Arnold, Al Stahl, and Todd Pletcher. And thanks to our sponsors, Parting Glass Racing, Saratoga's original racing partnership, and we will be welcoming their managing partner, Tom Gallo, on next week's show, and we will discuss Sanctify's win last Saturday here at Saratoga. Visit them on the web at partingglassracing.com and by Jacob and Anthony's American Grill at 38 High Rock Avenue, where we are sending all of our guests this year. It's in downtown Saratoga. Call them for reservations at 871-1600. As always, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Enjoy this outstanding Whitney Day of racing here at Saratoga. Have a wonderful upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.